YouTube family? Welcome back to another episode of 2A-N-LA. As always, anything that I say in this episode, prior episodes, and future episodes is just my personal opinion. You should not take it as fact. You should not take it as law. Always do your own homework and come up with your own conclusions, all right? Look, let's get this episode rolling. So, if you guys don't know, a while back, one of the first episodes I did, maybe it was like my 4th or 5th episode, I'll try to put a link to it down below. I did an episode on the 10 things that all liberals should know about guns. Because I felt like people who were not gun people or people who were anti-gun, a lot of them just didn't have the facts. And so I tried to dispel a lot of the commonly held myths that people have about guns. And one of the things that I touched on was the fact that I thought 10 rounds was not enough, specifically dealing with capacity limits in states like California. So this video, what I wanted to try to do is put some footage together to kind of visually show you, I think it's one thing for me to say it, but visually show you why 10 rounds is simply not enough. So before we get going, I'm gonna cue in the footage from my 10 things all liberals should know about guns, specifically what I said about 10 rounds not being enough. So cue in video now. All right, next up, 10 rounds is not enough. This speaks to capacity limits that are placed by law in certain states such as California that limit the number of rounds that can be in any magazine to 10. And quite frankly, 10 rounds is not enough. A lot of people feel that it is, and typically those feelings are fueled by people who do not shoot. So relative to that, I'm going to paint you a scenario. You are in your bed, fast asleep, when all of a sudden you hear the sound of window crashing in the middle of the night. You rush and grab your kids from the other room and your wife, you guys hunker down in the bedroom, you lock the door, and then all of a sudden you remember there's this gun in the nightstand that's been there for years that you haven't touched. Side note, who does that? I've maybe shot this thing like one time and then it's set in my drawer for a decade, you know. Okay, so you run and grab the gun and you're fumbling with the combination to the safe lock because you don't remember because you haven't opened it in so long, but you figure it out, you get it open, you make sure the safety is off, you chamber your round, you run and try to take cover in an advantageous position. Your adrenaline is flowing like crazy. You have fear for yourself, for your life, for your family's life. And all of a sudden intruders burst through the door. To think that you're going, with all this going on, with no training and no practice, you're going to be able to get targets on round is not likely. Add to the fact that most home invasions occur with 3 to 4 individuals. So now you've got 10 rounds to combat 3 to 4 individuals who may also be armed. And on top of all that, because they're criminals and they don't care about the law, they have standard and high capacity magazines while you're limited to a substandard magazine. I'll also add that a lot of times burglary and crime take place from desperate people who are suffering from addictions to drugs. And so the fact remains that even if you could get a target on round, it may take multiple rounds to take somebody who's hyped up on drugs to quell or eliminate that threat. And so 10 rounds is simply not enough. Okay, so that's my opinion relative to capacity limits. I don't think that they work. And in that clip, I tried to give you a real life scenario where being limited to 10 rounds is problematic. But again, that's just me talking. So I'm going to show you some video that really kind of tries to drive the point home. So there's 2 clips I'm going to follow up with. One is, the first clip is with a Michigan state deputy who encounters a dangerous individual who approaches her with both a knife and a screwdriver and has already committed a felonious act. All right, so let's roll this clip.
So in the video you're about to see, a Michigan deputy is in pursuit of a 43-year-old man who has just stabbed a 77-year-old man over a dispute about wearing a face mask amidst COVID. So check out how this officer reacts as she knows a man who is violent approaches her. Check this out.
What? Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Drop the weapon. Drop it. Drop the weapon. Drop the weapon. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Drop the weapon. Drop the weapon. Drop the weapon. Down.
Okay, so look, fam. The guy had already stabbed a 77-year-old man over a dispute about whether or not one of them should be wearing a mask or not. Okay? He's pursued by the police. He gets out of the car. He's got the knife that he's already stabbed one person with and a screwdriver in the other hand. He refuses to comply. He continually works his way closer and closer to her until she gets to the point where he feels he's close enough. And at that point, he lunges to try to stab her. She let off, by my count, a minimum of 11 rounds, maybe more. Okay, let's watch this again in slower motion.
Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon!
Okay, so again, as you saw, she let off 1 round. He didn't stop. 2, 3, 4 rounds. He didn't stop. The gun jams. She, very technically savvy and well trained, clears the jam. And oh boy, he's got 4 shots in him. He's still not stopping. He attempts to pick up the screwdriver that he dropped. He still has a knife in his other hand so he can continue to fight. She then lets off another 5 or 6 rounds. Okay, look, this is real life. Okay, this is a trained police officer who has been through an academy, has probably been on the job for a period of time, has probably had situations where she's had to pull out her gun, where she's had adrenaline rush. Okay, if 10 rounds wasn't enough for her, for one assailant, right, then why the hell would it be enough for the common citizen who doesn't have the benefit of that level of training? Okay, now to hammer this in, I'm going to show you another clip. This one from the San Diego Police Department as they try to book a suspect who has managed somehow to slip out of his handcuffs in the back seat of the cruiser. Roll the clip.
So in this video with the San Diego Police Department, an officer is removing a suspect from the vehicle for booking when she discovers that he has somehow slipped out of his handcuffs. Here she tries to force the door closed. She's calling other partners for backup, letting them know that he has gotten free from his handcuffs. So they are, gloving up, preparing to deal with him. Now, what they don't realize is that one of the rookie officers in the hatch, which is accessible from the rear of the car, has a bag back there with their secondary weapon. And the suspect has somehow gotten a hold of that bag. And when they realize that, they draw down on him. They're telling him to show them their hands. They don't want to shoot them. But obviously the suspect is non-compliant. And so as they insist on him getting out of the car, showing them their hands, they start to begin to take tactical positions so that they don't, if they have to shoot, hit each other with crossfire. Again, the suspect is non-compliant. He is rummaging through the bag, and now he has the gun in hand, and so they retreat to more defensive positions, all the while yelling at him to get out of the car. Now, right there, that little flash you saw, one of the officers shot through the back of the car at the suspect because the suspect aimed the gun at them. And so, again, they're telling him to, show them their hands, get out of the car. He is non-compliant, finally opens the door. At this point, he has been shot. So when he gets out of the car, he has actually already been hit. He has a gun. It is now in his waistband. And as you can see, he gets out of the truck, very casual. He's trying to get into the rear of the vehicle where there are more weapons. They again are yelling at him to get down on the ground. He is not compliant. And keep in mind again, he has already been shot. When he realizes he can't get into the back of the vehicle, he starts to circle around to the side of the vehicle and tries to get in the front door. Now, this is problematic because there are more guns available in the front seat. So at that point, they open fire, and now he's been hit 2 more times. But as you can see, he is still not compliant. He is still moving around, struggling albeit, but still non-compliant. Once again, he's trying to get up and get inside the car where there are more weapons there, so they can't allow him to do that. And again, they shoot another round, and he is hit again. At this point in time, they let loose a police dog on him to get him down into submission. Here's another angle of that same scene. This is him trying to get into the back of the vehicle. He's already at this point, remind you, been shot at least 1 time because he can't get into the back of the vehicle, though, where additional weapons are located. The police just continue to bark commands and do not open fire. But when he goes around to the front and tries to get the additional weapons in the front, they open fire again, putting additional slugs or additional rounds into him.
Okay, so look, that guy got hit 4 or 5 times. Now that's just one guy against 4 to 6 police officers and a police dog. And it took all of them hitting multiple rounds on him multiple times to quash that threat. Now, in a home invasion, suppose the numbers are opposite. Suppose it's 1 of you and 4 or 5 of them. You think 10-round capacity is going to be enough to address that? No. You're going to have to do, if you're in a capacity limited state, even if you're not, you might, in that scenario, have to do multiple reloads. And because your assailants don't care about the law If they did, they wouldn't be breaking into your house, right? So obviously they're very comfortable breaking into your home. If they're comfortable with armed robbery, maybe murder, a gun possession charge or a high capacity mag possession charge is the least of their concerns. And so they're going to have standard and high capacity magazines while you have a limited capacity magazine. And then you are at a distinct tactical disadvantage. So again, I say to you people who are out there, and there are statistics out there where they say, oh, you know, the average gun interaction, only 1 or 2 shots are fired. I mean, that's great. That's fantastic. But what about the scenario when it doesn't? This concept that, oh, if you just shoot somebody with a gun and they go down, look at that. The first guy got about 11 or 12 shots fired at him. I'd say probably 80 to 90% of those hit. And he was still coming before he finally got let down. This other guy got shot once, put the gun in his waist bag, threw the backpack around his shoulder, got out the car, rolled around to the back, was trying to get into the trunk where more guns were, but it was locked, so he couldn't. When he couldn't get in there, he went around on the driver's side and was trying to get in there where they had other duty weapons. And at that point, he got shot 2 or 3 more times, and he still was not done. He was still trying to get back up to get back in there and got hit again. And then he was still moving to the point where they felt they had to send a police dog after him to get him on the ground. So, look, my point in the initial clip was 10 rounds isn't enough. If somebody is hopped up on drugs or something like that, 1 shot is not going to get it done. And as you can see, oftentimes 10 shots don't get it done because some of these bullets, when they hit, if you're not shooting hollow point bullets, right? You know, a bullet can go in them and out of them, and if it doesn't hit a vital organ, they're going to keep it pushing, right? Maybe they'll have damage long term, but short term, it's probably not going to be enough to stop them. And even if you're putting hollow points in that shred to do, it takes a minute for that to do the damage that's needed to shut that person down. So don't think, oh, I hit somebody one time with a bullet and it's gonna put them down. No, that is not how it works. So I just want you guys to understand, when you hear the media and these politicians talk about, oh, 10 rounds is enough, the average gunfight, only 1 or 2 shots are fired, blah, blah, blah. I'm not concerned about the average. I'm concerned about the worst case scenario. I'm trying to be prepared for the worst case scenario. And what the first cop faced when she was by herself, I don't even think that's the worst case scenario. That was one guy. Suppose it was multiple guys that she had to stop by herself. She would have been in a world of trouble because it took about 10 bullets to get him down. And so look, y'all, I hopefully you guys see what I'm saying. Hopefully I've kind of proven my point. I love to hear your comments. I love to hear what you think. As always, I appreciate you guys. I want to ask you to go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, share. Do all of that for your boy 2A-N-LA. And until next time, peace.